نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Let's go through a brief summary of Surah Qaf. Surah Qaf is a Makki surah, 45 ayahs and 3 rukus. And the name Qaf comes from the beginning of the surah, since it starts with the letter Qaf. Some of the virtues of this surah is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to recite in the morning prayer, and this surah is also recited by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam during Friday sermons and Eid prayers. A brief synopsis of the surah is that this surah begins with denial of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and resurrection by mushrikeen. It elaborates on Allah's power through creation of skies and the earth and examples of mountains, vegetation, and rain, reminds us of punishment given to many past nations who rejected their messengers. The surah mentions events of hereafter, how people would be led into paradise and hellfire, and then instructs the believers to be patient and engage in remembrance of Allah. Let's go through the verses of the surah. Certainty of Quran as a glorious and divine revelation is mentioned in the beginning. Qaf wal Quran al-Majid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here takes an oath on the Quran al-Majid. Allah's knowledge of every particle of disintegrated bodies and His power to resurrect into original form is mentioned. قَدْ عَلِمْنَا مَا تَنْقُصُ الْأَرْضُ مِنْهُمْ وَعِنْدَنَا كِتَابٌ حَفِيظٌ. So this is in response to disbelievers who used to say, how can a body that gets disintegrated into earth after being buried could be resurrected? How is that possible? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, how He knows exactly what the earth did to those bodies, so He could definitely recreate them without any difficulty. The proof of resurrection lies in the revival of barren land into plantation and fruits through rain, as we see in this word. وَنَزَّلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً مُبَارَكًا فَأَنبَتْنَا بِهِ جَنَّاتٍ وَحَبَّ الْحَصِيدِ وَالنَّخْلَ بَاسِقَاتٍ لَهَا طَلْعٌ نَضِيدٌ رِزْقًا لِلْعِبَادِ وَأَحْيَيْنَا بِهِ بَلْدَةً مَيْتًا كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجُ. Past nations were punished due to their denial of messengers. كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وأصحاب الرس وثمود وعاد وفرعون وإخوان لوط وأصحاب الأيكة وقوم تبع كل كذب الرسل فحق وعيد. All these different nations rejected their messengers. The people of Nuh alayhi salam, Ashab al-Ras, people of the well, Thamud, Aad, Fir'aun, the brothers of Lut, meaning the nation of Lut, Ashab al-Aika, the people of Shu'aib alayhi salam, and Qawm Tubba from Yemen. So all these different nations are mentioned who denied their messengers, and thus they got punished. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to resurrect, similar to how He created everything the first time. فَعَيِّنَا بِالْخَلْقِ الْأَوَّلِ بَلْ هُمْ فِي لَبْسٍ مِّنْ خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not got tired by the first creation, and they are in disbelief of the second generation or the second creation or recreation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to a person than his jugular vein through His knowledge. And we had discussed there are 4 jugular veins, 2 of them in particular are larger ones on each side of the neck, and those are very important veins that take the blood from the heart to the neck and the head, and if they're cut, death occurs right away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more aware of what goes through people's minds, and He's more close to them than even their jugular veins through His knowledge. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Everyone has 2 angels seated to the right and the left, who are assigned to write good and bad deeds. إِذْ يَتَلَقَّى الْمُتَلَقِّيَانِ عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد. Every letter that is uttered is being documented. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. Worldly life is like a dream. Death opens our eyes to reality. لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد. That the eyes of the disbelievers would be sharp on the day of judgment, and whatever they thought in this world, how they almost lived in a dream in this world, it will be clear to them that the true reality is the hereafter. We see the warning against 6 characteristics in the surah: disbelief, stubbornness, preventing good, transgression, doubt, and polytheism. ألقيا في جهنم كل كفار عنيد مناع للخير معتد مريب الذي جعل مع الله إلها آخر فألقياه في العذاب الشديد. Hell will be filled with humans and jinns as promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد. There are 4 characteristics of people mentioned in the surah who will enter paradise. And what are those characteristics? Repentance, keeping Allah's covenant, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in private, and bringing an obedient heart. هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب. Life in paradise is eternal and gives you the protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment forever. ودخلوها بسلام ذلك يوم الخلود. There's also fulfillment of all desires and wishes in paradise. Similarly, people in paradise will be able to see Allah directly. لهم ما يشاءون فيها ولدينا مزيد. Even powerful nations of the past could not escape Allah's punishment. وكم أهلكنا قبلهم من قرن هم أشد منهم بطشا فنقبوا في البلاد هل من محيص. The reminder only benefits those who have intellect and listen attentively. إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. And finally, we should make supplication after performing obligatory prayers, since that is one of the times of acceptance of dua. ومن الليل فسبحه وأدبار السجود. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.